Welcome to another episode of Hoda's Career Info. Before we dive in, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been reaching out with your thoughtful messages and feedback. I absolutely love hearing from you. You remind me why having these career conversations is very valuable. Very excited today because we are joined by someone who is more passionate about career education than I am and have been doing so for more years than I have. Our guest today is learning specialist for career education, K-12, Tricia Berry. Stay tuned to hear her voice, her passion for career education, and what she has done about this passion. I am your host, Hoda Kilani, career and academic coach. Hoda's Career Info is about sharing words and stories from inspiring career people from across the globe. Use this program wisely and activate your career journey. Let's go!
Career development, career connected learning, whatever you want to call it, is lifelong. It's about trying to provide each and every learner in our schools with what they need in order to be successful in the future. And career education is most certainly one of those things. Even in the face of change, even if it's not a change that you choose, maybe a change you've been subjected to, there is always the option to look at what you can control within that change and work within that.
Thanks again for joining Hoda's Career Info, your program where guests from across the globe share career tips and inspiring stories to help you successfully activate your career. Watch, listen, and learn. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and follow me, Hoda Kilani, on social media for more career info. Our guest today is Tricia Berry, who is a learning specialist for career education K-12 with the New Brunswick Department of Education and Early Childhood Development. She has been working on the advancement of career education in K-12 and more specifically focused on equitable access for each learner in New Brunswick. Tricia is a Canadian certified counselor with extensive experience working in secondary education. Further, she has had the privilege of speaking at a variety of international conferences, collaborating and consulting with the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development on career readiness, and to network as a member of Team Canada attending the International Centre for Career Development and Public Policy Symposia in Norway. Thank you for joining me and Tricia Berry. Stay with us as she shares her journey and shows us the value of reflecting on what's next. I'm excited to have Tricia Berry join me today in Hoda's Career Info. Looking forward to a great conversation.
Hi.
Tricia, please share with the audience your personal story and, if possible, embed within it a lesson that you learned by living this story.
Okay. Well, I hope we have all day. No, not really. I thought about this question a little bit ahead of time. And, I think one of the nice things to share here today, based on our interests and our passion in career development, is, a little bit of my career journey. I started very young in education. I graduated from university with 2 degrees at the age of 21 and was a classroom teacher in a high school where I was teaching in some cases students that weren't really all that much younger than I was. It was just a circumstance of the speed in which I finished my first couple degrees and wanting to teach in high school. So I started my career in being a public school educator very young, and at this point in my career, I have over 20 years in education. What I discovered very quickly, though, even within the first 5 years of being a teacher, is that I loved. I loved teaching and I loved working with students, but I was already thinking about my career and its evolution and where I wanted it to go. And so I engaged in a master's of education, again, very young and very early in my career. And, maybe did that without as much thought going into like where was that taking me, but I thought that was my next step, and I took that. And so I did a master's of education in curriculum writing, as well as alongside that I obtained a principal's certificate in educational leadership, as I thought that I may like to go the direction of being an administrator in schools. And I spent some time exploring that, but at the time didn't necessarily end up feeling all that keen to go in that direction. And so I, again, evaluated where I was in my career and what I was doing and really dug into the subject areas that I really was passionate about teaching. And all of that led me to guidance curriculum. So anything and all things around the guidance of young people, from personal wellness to career development to mental health to suicide prevention, all of those topics that some people like to shy away from, but I found myself loving doing and engaging with young people, and that satisfied me for quite some time. But again, I think it's in my nature to start wondering about my career and what's next, and sort of wanting, to have some direction in what was going to be next for me. And so I decided to do some training with post-secondary education training in labor here in New Brunswick, alongside CCDF, which is the Canadian Career Development Foundation, and did all of the training that an employment counselor would complete. And that definitely assisted me in my teaching and supporting of young people. But that's when I started to branch off and start doing private career coaching as well, and found a passion in working with, all different folks, not just youth, but adults as well. And this, satisfied my itch and my desire, to continue to evolve and change in my career for a while. And then my personal life caught up with me, and I had 2 children and maternity leave. So that sort of broke up the work world a little bit too. But then I really found myself, nearing that, 16, 17 years in education, and really looking for a change. And this is when the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development approached me with the position to come work as a learning specialist to advance career education in the province of New Brunswick. And it was almost felt like the job ad was written for me. And so I jumped all over that change, and have been here for about 8 years. But even in this role, and I'll end with this last little bit, is since I've been at the department, I again continued to think about the evolution of my career and where I'm going, and found myself back at university again and did a secondary master's of education in counseling psychology, and really felt that I had found what I probably could have done many moons ago, and really settled into that as a Canadian certified counselor, and able to do even more private counseling and services for people, but primarily still focusing on career counseling in my private practice as well. And I tell this whole story really to hopefully like knock it out of the park in that career development, career connected learning, whatever you want to call it, is lifelong. Whether you're doing it intentionally or whether it's happening around you and happening to you, it is certainly a lifelong process, and I have always been entrenched and engaged in it, not just in helping others in that process, but I truly live it and have, there's been bumps in the road, but I think when people can see the potential and power in it and how it can bring so much joy to the world of work and your experience in work, when you are really engaged in that reflection on an ongoing basis and growth, that's what really brings that, happiness and that ability to go to work every day and do the things you love doing.
A wonderful message for sure, Tricia. And I did hear it that you did live it in your story as you're telling it. You used the word thinking, wondering, evaluating. So, very important actions to actually be doing through that career exploration stage. The next question, Tricia, what is the term that best describes your work and how would you define it?
Well, I think that, this could be really difficult, but I'm just going to keep it simple in that it is career connected learning. And, this term is our title in New Brunswick for our career education strategy. And it took time to land on that term, but that's what it is. And I really do feel that it pulls together all of the things that I do. It's the foundation of everything that I am doing. Career connected learning is a continuum of learning, which is the important thing to talk about. It's that learning that happens from early childhood all the way through to graduation, but to my point in my last response, really your entire life. But I'm focusing on that kindergarten to grade 12 area, as that's my work. But it's the exploring, it's the experiencing, it's the thinking about career pathways. And career connected learning is deeply rooted in research and best practices. So I just really think it's the term that can really best describe all of that.
Trisha, you have a lot to be proud of in the field. A shining example is that you're leading the career education framework in New Brunswick. You already hinted a little bit about it, but maybe I'll start you with the question, when was the framework introduced in New Brunswick's education system? It's a great, amazing step.
Thank you so much. It was officially launched in January 2023, but it did take time to get there. As I would like to say that the career education framework in New Brunswick was developed collaboratively with the OECD and Anthony Mann as the lead of the Career Readiness Project. With the OECD, it was such a tremendous experience to be able to collaborate with him in the development of the career education framework, because we were able to utilize all of the evidence and research that he had been working so hard to gather within the Career Readiness Project. And really, he had his fingertips on information that would take me so long to gather. So it was an amazing opportunity to put our work together into developing this framework. And so after all of that consultation was done, and we did do extensive consultation with our stakeholders and rights holders in New Brunswick and beyond. We launched in January 2023 with a small launch event. I seem to recall actually January in New Brunswick. It was one of the worst snowstorms on that particular day, and we had to pivot to an online event. But this is what we do. And it was wonderful. And we had educators from all around the province join that launch event to hear about it. But what we worked into that event was also an opportunity to have all kinds of folks from around New Brunswick, from administrators to classroom teachers to school counselors to policymakers, all kinds of folks in the room talking about what this could look like in schools and ideas of implementation and strategic planning. And that was really the kickoff of the framework at that time. And it's just sort of been evolving since then in how it's being implemented and used And it's quite diverse in how that's happening.
Thank you. This is a perfect intro to what's happening. For anyone looking to do what you're doing, what role would they be seeking to get to that point where they can change things?
Um, it's a hard question. It's a hard recipe to like provide, right? Because I think that advancing career education is a very, very difficult job for so many reasons. We'd have to do a whole other podcast, Hoda, I think, to really address all of those things. But, I think one of the things that I would suggest to anybody is that, you know, reinventing the wheel is not necessary, that we need to lean into the work that, other folks are doing. And I keep all of my resources and things that I've developed public facing. I always have. And I do that for that very reason, because, I'd like if people want to use anything I have ever developed, I'd like to see them do that. At the end of the day, it's about trying to provide each and every learner in our schools with what they need in order to be successful in the future. And career education is most certainly one of those things.
Thank you. And that's a very good advice to get anyone interested started. And I know you have a lot of resources online that people have access to. What are you hoping to accomplish in the near future with that framework?
When we developed the framework, my biggest fear was that it would be a document and that would be the end of the story. That was, I think that's what everybody worries about. And so, implementation and usage of the continuum is and continues to be the most important focus now and into the future. And I'm doing lots of things to continue to move it forward. One of the most important things is that the career education framework is part of what we would call our curriculum writing toolkit. And so with any and all updates to curriculum and or new curriculum being developed, the framework informs that. And it's not the only framework we have. We have other really important frameworks in New Brunswick, like a Wabanaki framework, a Black Histories framework, and climate change framework. So we have these really important concepts and ideas and learnings that we are always actively integrating into all of our curriculum. And the other really nice thing is that with the digitization of curriculum in New Brunswick, this allows us to update at a faster pace. Fortunately, curriculum in the past used to take a long time to receive updates, but everything now is on a 5-year cycle. So because of the expediency of curriculum reform, what we have is this career education framework being incorporated into more and more curricula as each one is updated and or written. So slowly but surely, we will get there where career outcomes will be incorporated into every grade and subject. And that was always the goal with career connected learning, because if it's part of every curriculum, in each grade, each subject, then you have students having access to career education on an ongoing and frequent basis. And so that at the end of the day is the objective, so that it's not something that happens in just pockets of excellence, or we don't want to continue to see some students receiving career education and others not. So if it's part of every class and curriculum, then we know that each learner has access to that very important learning.
That's an amazing goal, and I hope to see this framework all across Canada sooner than later. So thank you so much for sharing your work. Tricia, like you, I work with young people as well, and I advise them to step out of their comfort zone and embrace new challenges. What are some of the challenges that you are looking to take on now or perhaps in the near future?
Well, I love that, that's one of the things that you bring up, and one of the things that you talk about and normalize with the folks that you work with, because I think one of the things that immediately pops into my mind is change. and change is good, but change is hard. And so, it's challenging for everyone. Even good change is still a challenge, right? It's, bringing something new. And, that is something that will continue, and something I will face. I'm actually making a change in my own role at the Department of Education, and we'll be focusing more on curriculum and curriculum writing, still with the focus on career connected learning, but taking on new policy and procedures and things, and a little bit scary. And there will be that learning curve. But at the end of the day, I always look at what I can control. And even in the face of change, even if it's not a change that you choose, maybe a change you've been subjected to, there is always the option to look at what you can control within that change and work within that. And I think that's always really important advice when you're thinking about career development and change, because there is always the option of, making your own choices and thinking about what is possible. A few of the big things for me is I continue to work on some pretty big initiatives in New Brunswick, one of them being that we are implementing a new graduation requirement next spring, 2026, where each of our graduates will evidence a career life plan as part of their graduation requirements. And this is really exciting for our province. And it promotes this idea that each learner should and deserves to have a plan before they walk across the stage and feel confident and hopeful about the future. And so the other piece of my work is continuing to support Hopeful Transitions, which is a multi-tiered system of support model and tool that is being implemented in our high schools, but eventually will be implemented in middle schools and high schools, that will help in that process of ensuring that each and every learner has the opportunity to actively engage in career connected learning.
Very exciting projects and challenges that you're taking on. And I'm just very proud of you that at least I know they will leave school thinking about career before they hit grade 12. Tricia, these were all the questions I had prepared for you today. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you about, or any final message that you'd like to share?
I don't think so. I would love to talk about all of these things all day long, and probably could. And again, I always welcome these conversations. There is always so much to learn from other people. That is how you and I met. And so I always love when people reach out to have conversations and collaborate, and always welcome that.
I know you're as passionate about talking about careers as much as I am, and I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you.
Well, 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 that's it for today's episode of Hoda's Career Info, the program where career professionals from across the globe join me to empower you to succeed. Our guest today on Hoda's Career Info was learning specialist for career education in K-12, Tricia Berry. You can connect with Tricia on LinkedIn. In this episode, Tricia shared, change is good, but change is hard. It's challenging for everyone. Even good change is still a challenge. Take a moment, pause, and reflect. What are your thoughts on change? How have you handled the changes in your life? Remember that you can watch Hoda's Career Info on YouTube or listen to the episode on your favorite podcast app. To let me know if you are interested in an opportunity to talk about your work, you can send me a direct message on my website, rightcareerfit.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter to stay up to date on the latest episodes. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow me, Hoda Kilani, on social media, and together, let's increase career literacy. I am your host, Hoda, career and academic coach. Until next time, take the time to pause, recognize, and celebrate your challenges.